Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Good to have you here as always. So today I am bringing you part one of an incredible interview that I did with Tomas, the lead singer of that legendary Swedish RAC band, Steelcapped Strength. Yeah, that's right. I was lucky enough to sit down with Tomas and talk to him about his life, about his involvement with the Swedish white power movement, about the band and their performances and the tragedies that he experienced in his years. And more importantly, we talked about his life now and how he got away from that movement. And we also talked about what's coming up for him in the future. So here you go, folks. Here's part one of the interview with Bisson from Steelcapped Strength. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for being here yet again, Tomas, and I will let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks for being back. And people who don't know me, my nickname was Bisson, which means baby. To be honest, people didn't know that, the Steelcat baby. I was playing, used to sing and play guitar for many years in a white power band, who was a RAC band from the beginning, called Steelcapped Strength. And before that, I played in a band, a Viking rock band, from Sweden, of course. I live in Sweden, I'm Swedish. That was called with lyrics that was supposed to sing about white power shit, but with other words, about Vikings, pride in your country, you know, nationalism, patriotism, stuff like that.
Okay.
And yeah, and how I got into that, don't really know still today why I dug myself so deep into the movement and to the hateful lyrics and way of life. Because when I started my ways back, I was a punk rocker before. And a long story short about the punk time, which I still miss today sometimes, the punk era, when there was no politics, we just looked like, you know, real punks. Yeah. Everyone wanted to look like what the Buchan from Exploited. But I love Exploited still today. Our a little punk scene, our punk crew here in where I live, started to get split up because many of our crew went so left in their minds, left-wing thinking back in those days. And I weren't so much about politics, just want to drink, listen to punk music, girls, and fighting, you know, against the Teddy Boys back at that time, in the end of the 80s. Yeah. And I didn't like the pacifistic way to hug trees and back in those days, you know. So I went to a gig here in Sweden. It was a little festival with different bands. It was War. I know you like them.
Big fan.
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of Swedish punk bands and the big 999 were there. Toy Dolls I've seen. And then it was the headliners Exploited. So yeah, and I'm going to show you something now. I found it. Just at that time, I shaved my Mohican, and I just had a shaved head, but still I have the leather jacket with what do you call it, needles and pins and shit.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know,
the studs and the patches, and yeah.
Yeah. And jeans and my Dr. Martin boots. And before Exploited entered the stage, I was going to take a piss behind a little building, small building. And suddenly, I'm kind of short, and a shorter guy with, he didn't have the Mohican then, but it was red, like small dreadlocks hanging. And he started to pee beside me, and he said something I didn't understand, but it was his Scottish accent, and it was Watty, the singer from Exploited. I was, woof, wow. He was my hero at that time, yeah. So I gave him some homemade alcohol, you know, what hembränt in Swedish, when you make a moonshine.
Oh, moonshine, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Do you want some? Oh yeah, you think, and he, but wow, because it was very strong. You giving me fucking petrol, I remember. And then I had this shirt, and this wasn't racist. I just had it. I don't know why. And Still got it today. What did 91?
Whoa!
His autograph.
That's
So I will put it
fucking
in the fucking
amazing.
frame.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yes, I
Wow.
still got it. Yeah, but after that, I went to the parking lot to meet my friends I went there to the festival to tell them, make them envy. I met Watchy. I had a fucking drink with him. I gave him my moonshine and stuff like that. So before we went back to the stage, I was going to take a piss again, and then I heard behind me, "Are you a Nazi punk?" So I turned around, and there was a big punk with swastikas and stuff on his jacket, and behind him there was a lot of skinheads. And I was, oh shit. So I was a little bit afraid because you had respect then for the skinheads in Sweden. So I just said, of course I am. I'm a Nazi punk. I didn't fucking knew what it was. I said, I knew that because of your Swedish shirt,
Shit.
Yeah, and I had a shaved head. So they asked me to join them, to drink with them the night. So then I started we changed phone numbers and stuff like that. So that's how I got into the skinhead scene.
Right.
Because many skinheads liked exploited the oil era. Contact on the phone, and I went down to the Stockholm, and the capital town in Sweden, and that's the way how I got into it.
Okay.
First, it was unpolitical.
Yep.
Yeah, I love the dress because you still were a rebel where people were afraid. They respected them, not us punks. Punks, they spit at and get a haircut and get a job, but the skinheads, they were like this, and I really enjoyed that, the respect, to be frightful, because I grew up in a very dysfunctional home with two parents, alcoholics and stuff like that. I have no role model, no father figure.
Right.
So that, yeah, I turn into someone, got rumors, the way you're ex-scumbag yourself,
Yes, yeah. If you grow up without those father figures, without that supervision, without that influence in your life, yeah, you do tend to really run with that aggression and with that feeling of I want to fuck people up and I want to find people who do that. Yeah, you're looking for that masculinity, that power, all that kind of stuff, and that's why we end up in those groups. As young guys, it's inevitable. So that was your first introduction to the skinheads, and where did you go from there? You became a part of the movement, I assume.
For the first, I used to go. I worked at the weekends here, and I took the train. I work at the weeks. When the weekends came, I took the train down south of Sweden and hang around with those skinheads. We have a really. It's not only bad memories from that time, from the beginning, but that was before the racist and Nazi thinking came. But when I hang around with them, we drank and we were loud and scared people. We went to concerts, And the thing is, I discovered the violence get worse in the skinhead way of life. Yeah. Back in those days, it was not immigrant fighting, not so much. It was against the called kickers.
Okay.
Guys with long hair in ponytails and Adidas clothes, really good at taekwondo, stuff like that. So,
right.
Yeah.
Also a bit like chavs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And those fights were more brutal because I was used to, when I was a punk, and fighting against the teddy boys. Some had knuckle irons, but nearly used that. But when you hit someone and they fell to the ground, you didn't kick them in the head, you didn't jump on them, you become friends after and had a beer together.
Yeah.
But this was when someone got beaten up, they were 2-3 guys kicking in the head, got to the hospital, sometimes someone were killed and stuff like that. So I grew into that. In the beginning I was a little bit, is this really stuff for me? But in some strange way, I continued to visit those guys, and suddenly I become a bigger part of it because, the music, ska and oi, I liked it then. I didn't really like the music, but it was something special about it. And I'm going to show you something more because this is the very first oi album I ever bought.
Oh, wow.
And I still got it.
Wow.
Yeah, I found it. And this is totally unpolitical, so it's really cool. It's the punk side with business and stuff. And this is the first time I heard the real enemy. I love this song today, even today. And the other side is called Drunk Side, from rock and roll and ska music.
Wow.
So,
What a great album.
so this is the truth. So I liked that stuff. They were really good musicians, but it was, you should listen to it.
Yeah.
And the dressing style I like, the Ben Sherman or Fred Perry, the bomber jacket, and that.
Yeah.
Races and stuff. But then in 1991, everything started to change here in Sweden with the white power movement for skinheads. It was a couple of guys down south who created an organization called VHM, Vitt Ares Motstånd. In English, it's White Aryan Resistance.
Okay.
As a copy of the States.
Yes. Yeah. Tom Metzger's.
So you had the original skinheads with the dress and the oi and ska music and parties and going to football and fight, the ordinary skinheads. And then you had the White Aryan Resistance skinheads. Dressed black bombers, black army pants, get a grip boots, and that one.
Yeah.
With a special cross. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is just for fun.
Oh, sure.
Maybe in the bedroom. So I started to play oi music band. I created a little with 3 guys, and we played about working class anthems. We just copyrighted the English bands, and then we started to sing a little bit more against immigration. We weren't political, how should I say it, so much into politics, but we were, the bigger, older skinheads were yelling Sieg Heil on the streets, and we started to write songs about same stuff, but we didn't knew what it was about. But then, when the fights escalated, we used to go to demonstrations in Sweden the 13th of November to celebrate an old Swedish king.
Right.
And every time it was riots with anti-fascists, and then the brutality began, for real. Right. And then when you get kicked by a gang of immigrants, my stupid head was, why? Why did they do that? They're coming to my country and kicking me. Yeah. I was screaming, get out of my country. Wonder why? But I was young, stupid, and when you're in a big group, you follow them.
Well, it's the crowd mentality, isn't it? You follow the crowd.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
Yeah. Not many people are going to question it when they're in the middle of it.
No. And then after a fight like that, we went back to a clubhouse. They had a nice clubhouse down in Stockholm, the skinheads. And we drank, and then we started, like we have talked about earlier, fighting each other.
Yeah. Yeah, with it, and that's the thing. Like I've said, when you have a whole bunch of guys that are in an aggressive group, and they don't have anyone to fight, and then the alcohol flows, they'll start fighting each other. And that's, if they were truly an organisation of loyal brothers who were there for each other, they wouldn't fight each other. Since they've had a few drinks, it's like, I don't like this. This was in your early to mid 20s? You're a part of this movement.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Early 20s there. The guy I told you about who asked me at the Exploited gig, are you a Nazi punk? He was a punk with black spike hair. One year, I think it was 92 or 93, we went there just to hang out with them. And he showed me a CD single. He had made a band by himself called Midgårds Söner. And he asked me, he had a record label put it out to publish his CD. It was called The Last Resort Records here in Sweden. And that man was looking for more bands in the Viking rock style, because we had one big band here in Sweden then called Ultima Thule.
Sure.
And it was the same, it was the same kind of music. They were the creators of Viking rock nationalistic in Sweden. They weren't Nazis or racist, but they were nationalistic. And they sold and came to the pop charts in Sweden, went very big in the 90s.
Wow.
So it was, it was very strange. But this guy was really moneymaker. So he saw his opportunity to release the same kind of, but he was very racist in his heart. But he told us, make lyrics about, take away the lyrics about immigration and stuff like that, but sing about Sweden, how beautiful it is, and sing a lot about your forefathers, the Viking era. Yeah. And I will let you record a CD single. So I went home, write some new stuff. He asked me to change name. We were called the SH Boot Boys from the beginning. Yeah, and that was me. We made it Sieg Heil Boot Boys, but when we were playing gigs, we called it Söderhamn, where I came from, South Harbor Boot Boys.
Right.
We told them, but it was Sieg Heil. Stupid shit. Yeah, so he said, I can't sell records if you name that like that, of course. So we changed for the name Enharjarna. And Enharjarna was, in the Nordic mythology, the Viking warriors who died in battle, when they came to Valhalla, they were called Enharjarna. They train and fight to the Judgment Day, Ragnarök. So we thought, oh, that's a cool name. So we grabbed that one.
All right.
So, yeah, we recorded a few songs, and it went, I think it was 4 songs on the first CD single, and it was received very well by people. So we started to make some gigs just here in Sweden at the beginning with that band. And then I got tired of it to sound the same. You know, the Ultima Thule, Migos Söner, Enharjarna is a typical same. It's 3-4 chords, trying to sound brutal when you sing, and the same topics in every song.
Right.
And it's the guitar melodies is almost the same. It's supposed to sound a hard version of folklore. So I got a little bit fed up with that, and I sat home, 94 or 95, doing the dishes, blah blah blah, and I listened to old Screwdriver at the stereo, and I thought for myself, it would be fun to do just something like that. 3 chords, screaming and about everything I hate. So I just sat down, took my guitar, write 3 or 4 new songs, and then I wasn't so pleased with them. So I threw them in the garbage can, and later that evening, a friend who played drums in another punk band, Lille, was supposed to come and get me to a party for my girlfriend to come home. So she came home and going to make food, and I was tying up my boots, and she said, "What? This is some lyrics on the floor." So I had missed one paper, missed the garbage can. So yeah, so Leland, he was like that. He was really horny to play in thousands of bands all the time.
Yep.
Like the musicians in America and the White Power movement. You play in every band.
Yeah.
So he looked at it, and what the fuck is this? He said, "Oh, it's just some shit I wrote, but forget it. Let's go party." No. And he wrote, "Sons of Glory." What the fuck? I called a bass player, an old friend, Kalle, he was called. And we tried to rehearse. We made something out of it, and then we go and drink. So, okay. So I took the 4 songs, we went to their rehearsal room, and I showed them the 3 chords, and then we started yelling and how we should play, and we looked at each other. Fuck, that sounds like, that's really cool. So I called the record label again, the last resort, and told him, I have a new band. I said, no, I want the Enharjarna, I want money. No, please. Yeah, but if you're going to record that, at least give me 3 more Enharjarna songs for a compilation album. He said, all right, I do that. So I write 3 songs with Enharjarna. And then we went to the studio in Stockholm, where he booked for us. And this time it was in the middle of Stockholm. We go down to the basement, and there was a guy. He looked like a typical, how do you say, without being a bully, but he looked like a nerd, you know.
Oh, sure.
But the stare down, you had golden vinyl albums, and it was big names in the Euro techno era. What the fuck is this? And we came down there, 1 punk and 2 drunk skinheads, and the studio guy, what the fuck is this? So we went down there, plugged our stuff in, and he said, but don't you want to check the sound? Fuck that, it's a party in 2 hours or 3 hours. We have to hurry. It was just like old punks. So we started counting, and we recorded 12 songs in about 1.5 hours. and then we put on the vocals, and then it began. The Sons of Glory from Steelcapped Strength came out.
Sons of glory, sons of glory, sons of glory, skinheads, sons of glory, sons of glory, sons of glory, skinheads, sons of glory, sons of glory, sons of glory, skinheads.
In Europe.
Wow.
Went really big, and what the fuck? We weren't serious, you know? So that's how that band, yeah.
Right. Because, I mean, Steelcapped Strength, they're one of the biggest bands from the movement,
Yeah.
you know, especially in Europe. They were fucking massive. So, you know, if you,
Yeah,
if you didn't know who they were, you know, fucking hand in your Nazi card. So,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, we went really big, but we didn't manage to make any gigs back in 95, 96 because there was a tragic moment when we recorded that album. I can tell you about it. It was late one evening in February 1996. Me and my girlfriend went to bed, and 4 o'clock in the morning, the phone starts ringing. So I went up and answered, and it was a girl screaming, he's dead, the fat bastard killed him. And then they hang up, and what the fuck? I thought someone just calling and fooling around. So I went to bed again, and then the phone starts to ring again. So I answered, hey, who the fuck is this? It was Lillen, the drummer's girlfriend, who cried and screamed and told me, he's dead. Who is dead? Lillen, he's murdered. And then they hung up again. And then I didn't hear anything until the day after from another friend. It was a party that went in the north. The alcoholic was flood, you know, and the bass player in the band, Steelcapped Strength, and my drummer, Lillen, went downstairs, you know, just before the clock was 4 in the morning. They were, you know, drunk and hungry. So he had a bread knife and made some bread. The bassist came down and was really mental in his head and started to, fucking about with it. And the drummer punched him in the face and pushed him away. And then he went upstairs to a bedroom. There was girls in the bed. And he sat down and ate his fucking sandwich. And then the bass player come upstairs and go into the bedroom. And the drummer stands up. What the fuck are you doing? And he took the bread knife, standing right through the heart. Poof, stone dead.
Oh my gosh.
So that was happens, yeah. So at that time, yeah, I went into a shock. You know, I've been into just that short time. I've been a skinhead then, from 89 to 96. I was like, fuck, you know, I was used to brutal violence, but not murders, you know. So I went, fucking hell. I remember that night I was looking out at the windows and thought to myself, no, they're fooling me. He will come riding a stolen bike like I always did, but no, he was dead. So that was horrible. So at that time I'd say, fuck this life. So went to Ireland just for 2 weeks to clear my mind and stuff. But it was the same there, because I went there and thought, I don't want to have anything with Nazis, nationalism, nothing like that. Just went to Ireland. Lived in bed and breakfast places, had a good time, was thinking about that, but I just want to clear my mind. But everywhere I went, I met people, Irish people, not skinheads, but ordinary people on the streets. Some of the green bomber jackets, proud Irish. And I went, all right. I went to the pubs with the Irish music and had some Guinness. I mean, I remember there was a big lady who served in the bar, big tits, and at the shirt, kissed me, I'm Irish and proud, and stuff. Everywhere I went, it was nationalist.
Yes.
And the last fucking day, I went on a guided tour bus. And I said it was bad weather, like it always on the British Isles. It was a little bit rain, totally grey. Mm-hmm. And we went for a sightseeing tour in Dublin. And suddenly a lady who was the tourist guide took the microphone. Is it anybody here from Scandinavia? And I did, yeah, it was only me. Look there, it was a big stone, what you call it, obelisk. You know,
yes.
Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. This is where the Vikings from the Nordic came here and created Dublin. And that was, she told me, Dublin was the first Nordic language we had, the Vikings. It means the dark sea. That's where the name came from the Viking name. And you should be proud. And everyone, the rest of tourists, oh, Viking,
Shit.
So I couldn't even get rid of the nationalist and the proud stuff when I went away from my own fucking country. So
you probably, it was probably fucking more in Ireland than what it was back in your country. Shit.
Exactly. And that evening I went to the pub again. People was discussed and talking about nationalism and stuff. You can be proud without hate, and there's nothing wrong to be proud. And look at the IRA stuff up in the North Ireland and stuff. We have to go unite, and I was all right. Yeah, I'm going back home and celebrate my dead brother's name to continue playing. So, you know, even if I didn't, one side say no, and the other said yes.
So you went back, and did you continued with the band?
Yeah, it took a couple of months, around a half year. The drummer of Ultima Thule called me when I was back home after I worked. We talked a bit, and he said, can't you come back and do another record, or totally new? We have a under company at Ultima Thule Records called Attitude Records, and we want only unpolitical music, but it with punk and oi. I don't know. I said, yeah, we do that. So I wrote that album. We went down to their studio, recorded that, out on the streets again, fighting. The police get us that time, and it was back in business again. Wow. So next album, I decided again, I'm not unpolitical at that time then. So I made a comeback album with Steelcapped Strength with new members. And then it started to happen, invitations to come and play in Germany. I played in Germany so many times I can't remember. Wow. Italy, Milano, Rome, stuff like that. And then Belgium, England, been fucking everywhere in Europe. And then the years passed on, and I've been in the States under the Hammerskins and played at a Hammerfest. It was the worst week in my fucking life.
Wow, let's hear about this one.
Yeah, that was back in 2012. My friend. Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, I have a diagnosis since for many years called GAD, is general anxiety
disorder.
Disorder, yeah, disorder. It's much better now when I've been clean for almost 4 years now from addiction. So I think the addiction was the biggest part of my anguish diagnosis. But I feel much better today. But at that time, when I didn't drink, I was just every morning I was walking on needles. So you can imagine yourself, I was always nervous, and I lived that life. I was a member of the Swedish division of Blood and Honor, and I had enemies everywhere. And you know yourself, who've been in the scene for many years. Yeah. So every time in Europe, when we were going to the airports, I was afraid all the time to get nicked or killed, every time. Yeah. And I always said in my whole life, I would never go to the United States because I've seen the TV show Cops.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And documentaries about American prisons is so fucking sick.
It's fucking scary, right?
Yeah. So that week was just like a fucking episode of Sons of Anarchy. It was the first... just in Europe, when people are general, okay, we're almost the same, Swedes, Germans, Italians, it's the same kind of culture, almost, yeah? But, and every time I was nervous to get nicked there. But now I was going to the fucking America. So I was like this, and that stupid ex I had at that time forbid me to drink for 3 years. I was like this. But we went, of course, to the airport to Sweden, and boarded to the plane, and
Alrighty, so that's it for part 1. Thank you so much for tuning in for this one. Part 2 will be on the channel next Sunday. And hey, if you really enjoyed this video and you want to keep seeing more, there's many different ways you can do it. Supporting me and supporting this channel is a great way to do it. There's many different ways you can do that. You can buy me a coffee, you can buy my merchandise, you can sign up for memberships, all that good stuff. It's all appreciated, and it helps me to keep producing these videos for you. And if you can just give this video a big like, Subscribe down below if you haven't already, and hit that little bell to get notified, and you'll be seeing new videos from me every week. And as a bonus, I have a live stream starting up in about 10 minutes. So head on over to the channel, jump onto the live stream, and I'm pretty sure Tomas will be there with me. So thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you next week. Peace out, and love and light to you.